Wisdom in 8,000 Lines, RiBa. A humble revision of the wonderful achievement of the late Dr. Edward Conze, now of the 21st century. By Richard Babcock. Chapter 10. Proclamation of the Qualities of Bearing in Mind. Past Deeds, and the Present Attitude to Perfect Wisdom. So now this thought is occurring to Sakra, chief of gods, these who come to hear of perfection of wisdom act in consideration in view of what is quite mundanely considered former Jinas. These herein continue endlessly planting wholesome roots in view of countless Buddhas, take hold of, and are well taken hold of by good friends. Possessed of siddhis which are eventually realized as already in place beyond any common worldly determination as to why or how any dharma whatsoever comes to be, these who, taking up this perfection of wisdom bear in mind, study, spread and explain this, even now perform such acts. In addition and also beyond any conscious or discursive efforts as such, these beings simultaneously train in thusness and progress in thusness, yet make no efforts whatsoever about thusness. As thought, word, or concept, such is not inherent to anything from beyond any beginning yet effortlessly cognized as such, for as propensity and intent do come to allow, eventually is thus understood. These beings are endowed with more than trifling wholesome roots. These are beings honoring many Buddhas, and who again and again question these. It is just perfection of wisdom which these have heard in any past and yet still hear in this presence of manifest/unmanifest Tathagatas. These beings plant wholesome roots in view of all Buddhas. So, this is simply the way which these sons and daughters of good family are. As just this perfection of wisdom is being taught, these explain, understand and repeat this, do not become cowed nor stolid, do not become cast down or depressed, do not turn their minds away from this nor have their backs broken, and as well, do not tremble, neither be frightened nor terrified. Sariputra, now reading Sakra's thoughts says, as an irreversible bodhisattva any person becomes and is so regarded who, when just this deep perfection of wisdom is being taught and explained, has faith in it, and, trusting, firmly believing, this one's heart full of serene faith, reveals to all sentient beings bodhicitta, a thought directed towards enlightenment, takes up, expounds, reveals, writes down, repeats, and or develops this perfection of wisdom, trains in thusness, progresses toward thusness, and yet makes no effort about thusness as basis or object. For this perfection of wisdom is exceedingly profound, and herein someone with diminutive wholesome roots, who is unwilling to ask questions, learns nothing when face to face with any Buddhas and lords in any time, and who does not practice as yet in any time, cannot just here believe in this very profound perfection of wisdom. As to any who neither believe in this nor understand this, and who decide to reject this within these 3 times, these reject this deep perfection of wisdom as this is being taught, and this in consequence of inadequacy as regards their development of wholesome roots. For any who have not practiced do not now practice, and will not practice, such as these cannot believe in this perfection of wisdom. As these reject this now, these reject this equally in any past, for what's present is equally past as is likewise, and at once this future. To see now, Sakra, is ever present in any mere thought of 3 times. For what seems past only seems past as any present thought could perceive, as well as any future which ever was to be. This is the reason why as this deep perfection of wisdom is being taught, in any time whatsoever these have no faith, or patience, or pleasure, or desire to do, no vigor, no vigilance or resolve. In any past as well, these presently, then, question neither Buddhas, the lords, nor their disciples. Sakra, deep, indeed exceedingly profound, O holy Sariputra, is perfection of wisdom. So this is not at all astonishing, even as this is being taught that a bodhisattva might not believe in this, if one did not practice in this past. Sakra now said to the Lord, I pay homage, O Lord, to perfection of wisdom. One pays homage to cognition of all-knowing as one pays homage to perfection of wisdom. The Lord, so it is. For from this comes forth all knowledge of Buddhas, the lords, and, conversely, perfection of wisdom is brought about as such which comes forth from cognition of all-knowing. This is why one aspires to course, stand, progress, and make efforts in perfection of wisdom. Sakra, how does a bodhisattva coursing in perfection of wisdom, become one who stands in perfect wisdom? How does one make efforts in regards to perfection of wisdom? The Lord, well said, Kausika. Well said, again, well said, Kausika, since you have decided to question Tathagata about this matter, for in this questioning you have been inspired by Buddha's might. Here, Kausika, a bodhisattva coursing in, or as perfect wisdom does not make any stand in form, feeling, perception, impulse or consciousness, does not develop as any basis any notion such as, this is form, this is feeling, this is perception, this is impulse, or this is consciousness, for this means one makes efforts about any or all of these as form, feeling, perception, impulse, or consciousness. One does not apply oneself to any notion such as this is form, this is feeling, etc. Insofar as one does not apply oneself to any notion such as, this is form, this is feeling, etc., one does not stand in any notion such as, this is form, this is feeling, etc. Thus, one is known as one standing in perfect wisdom, thusly one makes efforts in or as perfect wisdom. Subhuti, here a simile from a song of old presents to mind, a certain Devata, in the far extreme of the night, her extreme radiance lighting up the entirety of Jinas grove, went to the Blessed One. On arrival, having bowed down to him, she stood to one side. As she was standing there, she said to him, "Tell me, dear sir, how you crossed over the flood." "I crossed over the flood without pushing forward, without staying in place." "But how, dear sir, did you cross over the flood without pushing forward, without staying in place?" "When I pushed forward, I was whirled about. When I stayed in place, I sank. And so I crossed over the flood without pushing forward, without staying in place." The Devata, at long last I see a Brahman totally unbound, who without pushing forward, without staying in place, has crossed over the entanglements of the world. That is what the Devata said. The teacher approved. Realizing that, the teacher has approved of me, she bowed down to him, circumambulated him, keeping him to her right and then vanished right there.